One of the problems with people, regular people having general conversations, is that they can't have them because general people have issues with each other. And when you have issues with each other, they turn into bigger issues in the discussions you have. You believe you are right, they are wrong, they are crazy, you are not. And when you start to have just regular conversations, something that you don't believe that they do, or something that they believe that you don't, turns into a major bone of contention. Right now, I believe there's an issue going on in Israel, the land of Israel, or specifically right in the area of Israel and the Gaza Strip. Two issues, technically, where one group, Hamas, has attacked the Israelis, another group, and are going all out in straight up terror. This is not a way of the Israelis trying to fight for the rights of the people they have stuck in the Gaza Strip. Issues with that. This is not the Israelis are trying to defend their right to exist against a larger issue. Yes, there's that, but that's not here. This is simply a terrorist attack by a group who claims to represent a group of people who are in need, but are doing it by running a reign of terror at the moment. We have been calling this is Israel's 9/11 because it's a lot like what happened for us on 9/11 20 so years ago, where one group of people who happen to be Muslim, people who have to follow Islam, people who happen to be looking for freedom, decided now was the time to attack the United States and cause a bit of terror, although they did not represent any actual government or any actual country. Hamas is a little different. Hamas is essentially a group that represents the Palestinians, whether they like it or not, and they are, of course, backed by Iranians, whether they want to or not, to have this sort of view that the Zionists in the Jewish nation should be destroyed. That's the basic issue. The issue of this point and point of this video, me talking right now, is not so much the fight, which you can argue bits and pieces of rights and wrongs. There is a pretty much an illegal fight by a terrorist group going on that started it. That's pretty much happened. What you do have are people around the world, and specifically here, us, the U.S., who are taking sides. Now, traditionally, the more conservative value or more just sort of pro-American value is to back Israel because they are Jewish and we are Christians out of Judaism, and they are surrounded by Muslims and they're trying to destroy it. So we must back Israel with all its might. That doesn't get Israel out of the fact that all of its might is sometimes a little bit overwrought in how they interact with things, including things in the Palestinians and the Gaza Strip. There have been many cases where, yes, the Palestinians have been not so great with making the peace stuff, but Israel, being the only folks there that can actually push them around, or can push them around because they can't push other folks around, are doing it. There are right and wrongs to both issues. What we're seeing right now is people who are calling out for peace in the area, or specifically for less of a beating going down on the Palestinians, who are now getting a beating in the court of public opinion. People are having pro-Palestine protests and pro-Hamas protests, which makes no sense, but people do that. And people are saying that the group that is causing the fight, starting the fight, and the group that they're representing have their rights. There are children and women and innocent people in Palestine who need a place to live and should not live in a place that's about the size of New Jersey, but a strip about 2 miles long and its best route. That's one thought process in this one. We had a story in our top 10 for the week of the weekly wrap-up that we talked about inside of things you might have heard with this headline. I can't read it from the video, but I'm going to flash the headline real quick for you to see on the screen. And it is a headline and a story about a NYU law student, a promising law student, who put out some statements essentially bashing the Israels for basically getting what they deserve for being jerks to Palestine. A very prestigious job offer was pulled away from this person. On top of that, I'm going to say she, but a person who uses the they, them pronoun. So you also have that as a whole nother ball of wax to deal with in this case. This is just one case. Other cases include students across the nation who are being essentially canceled, banned, because they are having protests that are pro-Palestinian, not pro-Israeli. And the weird thing with Amy Schumer, where she put a Star of David and in the words essentially said she stood up for all these people, but like black people and LBGTQ. Sorry for butchering that. I'm sort of winging this thing. And of course, the folks in Israel, although it seemed kind of thoughtless. And the post we had that also made the top 10 for the week about Gigi Haddad. I get the Haddads mixed up, about the fact that Kylie Jenner, one of the Jenners, put out a post that was pro-Israel, and one of her dads said, don't do that or you can't come to my birthday party. Things like that. The thoughts that you have are your thoughts. The beliefs you have are your beliefs. You're able to believe and think whatever it is that you want to believe and think. It's how it is. You can say, as I say, think the wrong things, believe the mean, hurtful things, and believe things that really don't do anyone any good. As long as you're not actively acting on them, there's not that much of a problem. If you believe that I'm an inferior person, and as long as you're not, treating me in inferior ways in public and, calling me out by my name behind my back, I don't know that. If you see me as an inferior person and you are doing things in public, I want to see you so I know who you are and who to stay away from. In those cases, you're free to believe what you want to believe, and I can back away from you, or I can choose to bow up and fight. What we're having is a lot of people who are essentially bowing up and fight over social media, over things, words being said, over things back and forth. There's a Twitter spat, X spat right now going back and forth between Candace Owen and Megyn Kelly. For whatever reason. And it's not about this particular, it's something else. It's essentially a student saying that they were down with the Palestinians and hated the Israelites and saying some stuff back and forth. And Candace sort of said something like Megyn Kelly was blowing out of proportion. And now they're beefing back and forth on Twitter because we do that. I'm not looking for Twitter beefs. I am looking for more conversation, which is why the Conversation Project was started. So if you want to respond to me in the comments, go for it. If you want to respond to me in a video, do that as well. We can talk this thing up. Here's the point. If you listen to the whole thing, here's the point. You are free to have your opinion. You are free to believe that the Palestinians are being used and being abused where they are, because they are. You are free to believe that the Israelis are being heckled and being pushed where they are. And they are. You're free to believe that Hamas is Hamas and they're doing these things of their own charter, which is true. On top of that, the attack by Hamas was unprovoked, pretty much just devastating, and the atrocities we're hearing, yes, we're hearing this from the side of the West, are terrible. But what you hear from the other side is, keep going Hamas, you're doing great, get rid of Israel. However you feel about the conflict, which is pretty dire and taking up all the oxygen for news right now, you have a right to feel how you want to feel about the people involved. And there are always both sides in these things, even though both sidesism is not always the best thing to talk about. This is a case where really bad people have started a big conflict, and now there's no easy way out of it. That's the only side to this thing. But as far as the people of Palestine who are suffering because they're stuck with these jerks who are trying to represent them by doing stupid things, that's an issue. The Israelis, basically, there's a lot of people who are saying, they may not have been asking for this, but all the crazy stuff going on in the government and the way things are acting out, they were setting themselves up to fail and missed a pretty big chance to see this thing coming, and it came to them pretty big. So give me your thoughts and comments on this video, on this idea. This is my first time doing this. This is normally saved for the story of the week. Things got in the way to really not make that work out, and I wanted to do something that was a bit more direct, more angry, if you will, to this. The lighting's not right, the room's not right, the whole setup isn't right yet, but we'll do more of these things so I can respond directly to some events in long form, not just the shorts that are very short and can only get in the soundbite clips worth of stuff. So those things exist. In the meantime, make sure you follow us on the feeds on Facebook and Twitter, or X, th_conversation for Facebook, for Twitter and X, and for Facebook, this is conversationproject.com. Email us at theconversationinbox@gmail.com for more discussions back and forth what we're doing. Stop by the website, the website, which is this is Conversation Project. This is all fresh and new, and visit us and see things we got going on there, and respond to this video, whether it's a plus, thumbs up, or thumbs down. Be honest. You're not going to like this. This is not our normal fare. It's not all polished and pretty, and it's not scripted, poorly scripted, if you will. Let me know what you think about this conflict, this issue. And remember, people are being blasted for their ideas and for their thoughts and for who they're supporting, which is not the issue. The issue is a big bad thing going on right now. We should all be focused on getting it over. We'll talk about the Ukraine big bad thing as well, because it's a similar issue, although less nuclear bombs are involved. Less nuclear bombs are involved. Thank you so much for joining us for this thing. We'll see how it turns out in later future acts.